the legendary Kater Blau. Kater Blau, which is just across the river, has probably the most amazing club history there is, not only of Berlin, but of the world. In just a few years they went from almost nothing to the top of the nightlife scene. So what makes this place so special, and how did it get where it is today? Well, you're about to find out. But first, let's take a look at its history, which you will never believe. It all started in 2003, when a few friends were looking for a good place to throw some little illegal parties with their mobile silver van. They came across this unemployed piece of land directly next to the spree and decided to give it a go. They cleared it and even put up some wooden structures. They called it Bar 25. And a few months later, they were able to get a temporary use license from the landlord. So they started to build more stuff on it, all made from wood, which they found at nearby abandoned warehouses. They even moved some buses and vans on location, so they could live there. In 2004, on a Friday evening, after months of preparation, they officially opened the Bar 25. At the opening night, there already came over 1,000 people, and they were planning that the party would go on until Sunday morning. But more and more people came, and they stayed open for 5 weeks straight. They didn't really have a license for running a bar or even a club, but back then the authorities didn't care too much what people were doing on those little spots of wasteland which were all over the city. At that time there were actually quite a few illegal clubs popping up in this area, but the Bar 25 was pretty different from the others. It was a colorful place, full of warmth and details, quite in contrast to what you could find at Tresor or the old Ostgut. What was also special about this place was that it wasn't just a place to party. They built a whole community around it. Over the years, they added a high-class restaurant, a fireplace, a sauna and a pool, a music stage, and even a hostel. The people who built all of this also lived there permanently, and they really just enjoyed throwing crazy parties. And the Bar 25 was basically their living room, where they invited other people into. It became a massive playground for adults. With that, they became very successful very quickly. But the purpose was not to make money, it was to have fun together. And the success just came with it. For the creators, it was a place to live together, without conventions. At times, it was even difficult for them to go out into the normal world, the grey, ugly city of Berlin. To sum it up, they basically built their own little village with their own reality in the middle of the city. All of this was only possible because there were no rules, and they could do whatever they wanted for quite some time. But as the years went by, the authorities started to care more and more about what they were doing there. And in 2010, even the landlord didn't extend their land contract. For them, this was catastrophic. Their utopia was about to be destroyed. But if they had to go, it was not without a fight. They mobilized everything they could. Politicians, the media, and demonstrations. But in the end, it all didn't help. They had to leave. The very same year, they found a new location, just across the river in an abandoned factory building. They changed the name to Kater Holzig. Although they already knew they had to leave again in a few years, they spared no expenses and effort to make it as great as the Bar 25. They also used this time to professionalize themselves. Now was the time to get serious. Otherwise they knew they wouldn't last much longer. They created, together with resident DJ Dirty During, the Kater label, which to this day is one of the most successful labels in Germany. At the same time, they were looking to raise money for the old Bar 25 plot, which was now up for sale. A plan was developed for a creative village, which was called Holzmarkt 25. The entire project would cost more than 100 million euro, an amount so big they couldn't even dream of. But fate wanted this project to happen. The Swiss foundation Abendrot jumped in and bought the plot for them. This was the beginning of a little utopia in the heart of Berlin. In 2014, they closed Kater Holzig and reopened on the same plot as the Bar 25 stood once. This time under the name Kater Blau, the club that we know today. This time though at a much bigger scale and with a concept behind that doesn't exist anywhere else. Kater Blau now is just a small puzzle of the Holzmarkt 25. Today it contains a kindergarten, a restaurant, a co-working space, a yoga studio, a theater, several bars and a public park. It really is a dream come true for many people, something almost unimaginable in today's capitalistic world. It's a much needed project in contrary to the recent development in Berlin that have corporate greed, expansion and profits at its core. The Holzmarkt wants to be a place for creatives and for alternative lifestyles. The crew of Kater Blau wants to be more than just a club, and they did a fantastic job in doing so. The Holzmarkt is what happens when hippies turn business, and it would be great to see more of that. If you want to see more about the original Bar 25, there's a whole documentary about it here on YouTube Movies. But unfortunately, it's only in German.